Hello and welcome to the Ruby and Pearls knitting channel. My name is Leah and I'm coming to you today with my winter knitting plans. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope you will enjoy this content. Grab yourself a nice project and maybe a hot cozy drink, and we will jump into my plans for December, January and February. As always, my dogs are in the room, so if you hear any noises, I do apologise. I have my Ravelry bundle on my tablet, so if I'm looking down, that is why. And I will link that down below so you can check out these patterns and read more details about them if you fancy doing so. I will be sharing my plans from Stash, and my plans will be mostly regarding garments, but there'll be a few accessories in there as well. My first planning video was about 3 months ago when I planned my autumn knitting plans, and they were somewhat unsuccessful, and I want to briefly recap on this. So in my autumn knitting plans, there were a few garments that I already had on the needles, and I completed those. There was also one sweater, the halibut sweater, that I knit for my partner. I'll pop a picture in for you. That was a dormant project that I pulled back out of hibernation, and that was successful as well. And then there were a few items that I said I might make, and they were actually more successful than the ones that I said I'd definitely make, because it allowed me to buy yarn and be a bit more creative and a bit more flexible. And the items that I said I would definitely knit were a bit hit and miss, mostly miss, to be honest. And I felt a little bit bad because I thought that people really wanted to see exactly what I'd said I was going to knit. And you lovely viewers all told me that you were absolutely fine with me knitting whatever I fancied at the time, and that a planning video is just nice to see because you can see what people are inspired by at the time. And I think what did work very well was the fact that, for example, I wanted to make a scarf for my dad and I wanted to make a cardigan for my mum. And I did make those things just in different yarns and with a different pattern. So for a little while, I thought about doing a video where I will share with you a sweater quantity and then basically say these are sort of 3 patterns that are currently inspiring me. But I ultimately decided that that is not really what planning videos are about. So I have decided to do a proper planning video after all, and yeah, I'm going to share those patterns with you now. I will not go into a lot of numerical detail in my planning video, as I never do with pattern roundups, because I find them quite tedious to watch. So if you want to know any more details, please do click on the link down below and you can check out all the details on Ravelry about these patterns. I will do my best to let you know if a pattern is size inclusive though, so that you can get an idea of whether this pattern caters for your needs or not before you click on the link. So without any further ado, let's jump into my plans. And the first plan is something that's already on my needles, and it is the Piping Hot Sweater by Lily Kate France from Lily Kate Makes. This is a top-down saddle shoulder design featuring lots and lots of really nice shaping, and it has sort of a modified drop shoulder. And the striking part for this pattern is the piping detail that runs down the sleeves and runs down the front and the back. And I've knit this sweater before. This is my second iteration of this garment, and I'm knitting mine in, I think I just knocked the tripod, apologies, Serda Haworth Tweed in the shade Millstone Grey. That is the yarn. And if I'm sort of moving around, I do apologise, but I've got yarn everywhere that I need to grab. And my whip is currently looking like this. So I think it is coming along really nicely. I have completed one sleeve. I have started the second sleeve and the body is currently on hold. And I have been chipping away at this garment on a daily basis. I'm really enjoying this pattern. The second garment that I would like to knit this season that is already on my needles is the Pyroline sweater by Tricot Meringue, and I'm knitting mine in Drops Cotton Merino in the shade Pistachio Ice Cream. That's a tongue twister, and I just cast this on last night, and I'll just grab my whip to show you. It is really sucking in, so it's hard to show you because it looks tiny. There we are. But this is the upper back panel, and it features all over sort of cable and rib, but the cables happen very infrequently. So it's a very meditative knit. There's not a lot going on, but enough going on, if that makes sense. And this is a top-down drop shoulder design. So this is the upper back that I've just completed the shaping. I've started on the straight bit, and then there'll be some underarm shaping coming soon. And on theme for the festiveness, I have these cute new stitch stoppers from my lovely friend Rhiannon from the Cosycrab. I will link her shop down below as well if you would like to get these, but they are not listed as Grinch stitch stoppers. They are listed as green Christmas something or other because of copyright issues. But if you fancy grabbing yourself some of those, then I would highly recommend them because they're really fun, and they come with a stitch marker as well, which is really fun. So this pattern is worked in DK weight, and there are a few options. You can put ribbing, or you can sort of finish the sleeves and the body just in this really wide rib with cables, which I think is what I'm leaning towards doing, because I think that looks really, really cool and really minimal. And then I think I won't do the mock neck. I think I will just do a much shallower neck, and I'll try and put a picture in for you here so you can see this option. This is a size inclusive pattern, and I forgot to mention the piping hot sweater was also a size inclusive pattern. Right, let's go into some patterns that are not yet on my needles. And the first one I would like to talk about is the Winter Soul Sweater by Adorable Knits or Dorothy Officier. And this is a pattern that was heavily hyped on Instagram. I remember the first time I saw it, I knew immediately that I would want to knit this at some point. So when this was released, I immediately bought the pattern, but I am currently waiting to cast this on because I am planning to knit this as a budgie knit with the lovely Yeji. She has a really great YouTube channel with lots and lots of project vlogs, and we are going to be knitting this alongside each other, and we've decided we will cast on roughly on the 15th of December. And I plan to knit mine in this enormous yarn baby, which is Woolcraft Aran 60% British wool. So this is one of those big balls of yarn that you can buy that lots of large UK based yarn brands sell, but this one is a little bit different because most of those big balls tend to be sort of 80% acrylic or 70% acrylic and the rest wool. This one's actually 60% wool, so it's a high wool content one, but they only come in this shade. And they are also 500 gram balls as opposed to 400 grams. So there's lots more yardage on these. And I plan to not drop any more yarn. I plan to knit this alongside this shade from Drops Alaska. This is, I believe, dark grey heather. So that will be my contrast colour. And yeah, I cannot wait to cast this sweater on. I was a little bit overwhelmed when I downloaded the pattern because there are a lot of pages, but once you sort of filter out what you need for your size, it's a little bit less overwhelming. And I believe this is sort of a worsted weight pattern, so my Aran yarn is a little bit thick, so I am actually sizing down to size 2. I would probably otherwise knit size 3. What else do I need to mention? This is work top down. It is a raglan construction, which means that the colour work style sweater will fit me a lot better. If you haven't seen my colourwork sweaters that are not round yokes video, I will try and pop this at the end on the end screen so that you can go and check that one out. And I mentioned in that video that round yoke sweaters don't really fit me very well, and so I'm always on the lookout for other constructions. And I believe this pattern is size inclusive, but allow me to check quickly. Yes, it is. It goes up to a 61-inch bust. The wearer's bust, not the finished item. So again, another lovely size inclusive pattern. Next sweater that I would like to knit is the Calm Down cardigan by Lily Kate France again. I am a huge fan of Lily's work. She is a size inclusive pattern designer with excellent fit details and little neat things that just make a really polished, basic garment that you want to wear every day, and the Calm Down cardigan is no exception. I have knit this cardigan before. It is a very similar construction to the Piping Hot sweater in that it has saddle shoulders and then lots of shaping, but it is a cardigan and it has double knit button bands. And the interesting feature of this cardigan is the little notch at the bottom where the button band sort of opens up, which I think is a really, really flattering and really interesting detail. I'm very aware that this leaf is poking me in my hair all the time, so I hope that is not distracting. This is a DKA pattern again, and I plan to knit mine in Fine Tweed Haze from Rowan in the shade number 7. I don't know what this shade is called, but I hope it will pick up on screen. this is a beautiful blend of alpaca, wool and wool mostly, but then also there's cotton and acrylic and polyester in there in smaller quantities. And it reads as light grey, but then from close up you can see all these beautiful neps of hot pink and orange, and yeah, dark grey as well, I think. So I think this is going to be really, really nice, and it is a very lightweight yarn, which I think will be perfect for this construction, because I don't actually own my first version of the Calm Down cardigan anymore, because it grew too much and it just became too drapey and too oversized, and I just couldn't wear it anymore. The next sweater I plan to knit is the Azalea sweater by Giselle Ucardi. And this is a top down all over cabled drop shoulder sweater, and I've been on the lookout for a all over cabled sweater that hits all the right notes for me for ages, and I think this is the one. This is an Aran weight pattern designed in Drops Air, but I will actually be using Drops Alaska in the shade light grey heather. I will put a picture in because I haven't got that yarn yet, because the lovely Emily from the Emily Knits channel is actually gifting me that yarn for Christmas. We're doing a bit of an exchange box where we sort of communicated what sweater quantity we would like to have, and then we surprised each other with some little bits of extra gifts in there. But the main sweater quantity was we decided to chat to each other about, and we're actually both getting each other Drops Alaska. And I am so excited to knit this sweater. It is an oversized all over cabled garment. It is also size inclusive, which is wonderful. And yeah, it just features all these beautiful different kinds of cables, mostly the honeycomb down the middle, but then there's also like almost like a sort of staghorn one and a braided one, and yeah, some moss stitch on the sides. I think this is going to be a really engaging knit, and I hope this is going to be my Christmas Day cast on if everything goes to plan. Next up, I would like to make the Leon sweater Chunky by Petite Knit. I particularly enjoy Petite Knit's patterns that have this type of construction. I think it's considered a contiguous yoke, where basically you cast on the upper back, you work a tiny trapezoid as if you were going to do a drop shoulder sweater, then you pick up little chunks for the front, do just a little bit of front shaping before you then pick up for the sleeves, and then you kind of work it all contiguously, and eventually it drops into a raglan construction. And I think this particular construction gives excellent fit on the shoulders, while then having flexibility for the oversizedness. So unlike a drop shoulder that looks just really oversized from the top to bottom, this kind of construction can still look really tailored on the shoulders, which is something I really, really enjoy. And I have made the regular Leon sweater before, but I don't own that pattern or don't own that garment anymore because I wasn't happy with my yarn choice, but I really, really enjoyed the construction. So I'd like to make the chunky version because I'm always cold, and the yarns I would like to use are these two colours. This is Serdar Snuggly in Chunky in the shade Rice Pudding or Rice Pud and Meadow. And if you've been here for a little while, you will know that I've been on a bit of a journey from knitting just with wool to knitting a lot of synthetic fibres to slowly going back into the wool now. And I really enjoy something that is easy care, but I don't particularly like wearing something that is 100% synthetic fibres. And this is 100% synthetic fibres, so we will see how this turns out. But basically this is 50-50 acrylic and nylon. And the main reason I bought it is because it's incredibly soft. Like, it is so soft. It's going to be so nice to wear. And I just really hope that it won't pill too much. That is my main concern with this yarn. But I love these colours together. I think it's going to be a really fun, but also really relaxing knit. So I'm really looking forward to that pattern. That is the end of the list of garments I would like to knit. But I have got quite a few accessory quantities in my stash. And I've just got some vague ideas for them. So if you would like to give me some input down below for hats and mini scarves and things, you know, winter accessories, then I would really, really appreciate it. But I'm going to share with you what yarn I have to hand and what I'm thinking about making. But as I say, these are much looser plans. I recently knit a Sophie scarf in Cardiff Cashmere Classic for a friend of mine. And while I was ordering that yarn, I had to purchase a ball for myself. This is in the shade 588. And I think it's a very me colour, and I think it's going to have to be some kind of mini scarf, either a Sophie scarf or maybe something different. So if you have any ideas for me for this yarn, then please do let me know. The next accessory quantity is this Knit and Note Highland wool and cashmere mohair, which I got as part of a sponsored test knit. So just for full transparency, I didn't pay for this yarn, it's just the leftovers from that test knit. And it is in this beautiful shade called Hay Grey. It's a slightly heathered grey with little flecks of dark grey in it. I think it's really beautiful. And I'm leaning towards an Oslo hat for this, but I am open to suggestions. It is DK and mohair, but this is a really thin mohair, so it doesn't really add much in the ways of bulk. So it's quite possible to just knit a DK weight pattern, or maybe I will browse and look for some more worsted weight patterns, because the other quantity I have that I would like to make an Oslo hat in, which has been sitting in my stash for ages, it is the shade Dusty Aqua in Knitting for Olive, Merino and Soft Silk Mohair. And yeah, I've had this for a very long time. And I would really like to knit this up, and I think this colour suits me quite well, so I think it would be nice for a hat. The last quantity for accessories I have is Wendy Merino, which is a DK weight yarn. This is the shade 2364 that I bought end of line from my local yarn shop. So I'm not 100% sure if you can still buy this, but I've got, I think, 7 or 8 balls of this. And currently my favourite idea is to knit the Cityscape patterns by Tori Yu. So she has a hat, she has a cowl, she has some mitts, and so that is an idea that I have. Alternatively, a plain stockinette hat and maybe a Sophie shawl is what I was thinking about, but then, you know, we're leaning very petite knit heavy again, and I would like to branch out a little bit, but I do like petite knits accessory patterns a lot, so that is kind of what I'm thinking about at the moment, because this doesn't particularly excite me very much in this shade, and I don't think it does very much for my complexion, but I do think that having a neutral sort of set of accessories would be really, really good, and it would go well with the coat that I'm currently wearing a lot. So those are all the patterns that I'm currently thinking about knitting with all my stash yarn. I do have a few other sweater quantities still in my stash, so I'm leaving myself completely open to any test calls or new releases or other patterns that inspire me. And I would love to hear what you are planning to knit this coming season. If you are going to knit any of these patterns, please feel free to reach out to me on Instagram, because we could do a buddy knit or something like that. And yeah, if you have any suggestions for other accessories that you really enjoy, I particularly like polished, minimalistic looking patterns, then please feel free to reach out in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a lovely winter and lovely winter knitting on your needles. Thank you and happy knitting.